case is closed, but some never rest. When silence screams, we listen. This is dead and wrong.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Liz,
And I'm Sam.
and this is Dead and Wrong, a podcast all about dead things, people, ghosts, animals, and social batteries. But most importantly, this episode is actually a very special episode
It's a special episode.
because it's a very special girl's birthday. It's my niece's birthday, aka your daughter's birthday. Her daughter is now a big teenager who still thinks she doesn't have to follow the rules, but she
Yep.
does. So, shout out to her. Happy birthday, girl.
And you're only doing this because you forgot her actual birthday today, didn't you?
I did. Sam
Mm.
actually texted me and reminded me, and I felt horrible about it. So
I
I
even told
promised.
you last night when we were recording another episode,
I
too.
know. I overslept, and then I got busy at work.
Yeah.
That's why I made this a special shout out episode to her, because I feel bad. And then obviously I'm going to send her a really nice present.
You still haven't sent the Christmas gifts.
It'll be in that box. I'm very behind, okay? I just smacked myself in the face.
Anyways.
In local news, for those in the Midwest, we are finally getting warm weather. I am so excited. For one, I sometimes work outside, so it's nice not freezing my ass off. But I also get to be outside with my dog when I let her run around instead of standing inside and just watching her creepily from the door window.
You like being the creep from the door window, don't lie.
Look, it's cold and I get cold easily and I don't want to be cold.
Yeah.
As a reminder, if you stick around till the end, we will have socials for you guys to check out, and you can send us any informational goodies that you would like. And as always, let's jump right in. Dead and Wrong presents Episode 4, The Unsolved Murder of Jody LeCornu. Yes, I did spell her name wrong in that document.
Lodi.
Jody. So, this is the murder of Jody LeCornu, which occurred in 1996. On October 28th, 1972, Linda and John LeCornu welcomed a set of twin girls to the world. Born only 2 minutes apart, Joanne, Jody, and Jennifer became as thick as thieves as they grew up with their two other sisters. That sounded a little weird, so I just want to point out real quick. Her name was Joanne, but she goes by Jody, and that is the name we will use for the rest of this recording. So Jody and Jenny were the kind of twins who did everything together. They shared the same room, same friends, managed to get into the same classes, and even enjoyed the same interests and hobbies. Sadly, while in high school, they also found themselves sharing a budding addiction to alcohol and experimenting with drugs. Worried,
That's a great thing.
yes, worried they would follow a similar path as he had with his own battle of alcohol addiction, John and Linda sent their daughters to a rehabilitation center in Virginia 2 months before their graduation, and they hoped this would stop the addiction before it took over their lives. They were there for roughly 2 years, and once they returned home, they sadly found themselves being separated for the first time. Jenny was sent to a family ranch in Wyoming. While her parents did not want to send her away, the boyfriend Jenny had at the time was no good, and her parents were worried he was going to drag her back down the path they had been working hard to keep her from. Jody, on the other hand, stayed with her parents until she moved to Towson, Maryland, right outside of Baltimore. While she was here, she attended Towson University, which was Maryland's largest public university. And here, she studied geriatrics.
Question.
Yes,
Do you call it Maryland and not Maryland?
apparently I do. Way to call me out.
I've heard other people say it too, but I mean, I grew up on the east. No.
Didn't
West
you
Coast.
grow up on
Wow.
the West Coast?
Yeah, I grew up on the West Coast.
This
And I
is
know
Sam, guys.
recently,
She doesn't know where she's
no,
from.
you know, no, it's true. I forget where any state is. It's fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Wrap myself out.
And just ratting me out, too, for my pronunciations.
Well, I was like, wait, am I saying it wrong or are you saying it wrong?
Who knows? Anyways, geriatrics is a study that focuses on enhancing the quality of life, independence, and health of older adults. It would also involve research on aging biology, chronic disease management, and social, psychological, and biological factors. An example of this would be Alzheimer's. As noted, this was a larger campus, housed about 22,000 students, and had over 100 different bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs. For comparison, the famous Harvard has about 24,500 students, so it's not that far off. So while
That's way too many
living,
kids.
hmm,
So that's way too many kids at school. I don't want to do that.
somebody has to. So while living in Towson, Jody and Steve Durbin, a man she had met during one of the rehab stints, started dating and then moved in together. It should be noted, Steve was also a recovering alcoholic. So, at the point in time that the tragedy befell Jody, her and Steve were actively living together, while Jenny, her twin sister, was living across the country with her own fiance in California. While they were separated by thousands of miles, they still communicated every day with each other by phone. And so, on March 2nd, 1996, when Jenny called Jody and Jody did not pick up the phone, she knew something had happened to her twin. And,
She didn't pick up the phone once. You automatically know something happened to your twin.
I mean, they do say twins have that weird telepathy where they know when something's not right. Plus, if it's
And
every single time she calls, you always pick up, and then the one time you didn't pick up,
I well, these are home phones back then. Like, what if you were working or outside? Things like that. It's not like today where I have to call you 10 times just to get a text message back. It's different.
I
And not
text
all
you and it
twins
takes
do
you like
this.
5 hours to text me back.
I leave my phone random places, so yeah.
Likely excuse. So,
Anyways,
it wasn't long after that phone call that Jenny was approached by her fiance. Her fiance had just gotten off the phone with John and Linda, which were Jenny and Jody's parents, and they told him that Jody had been shot and killed. So, let's back up a little bit. It was the night of February 29th, and Steve and Jody found themselves in an argument. To this day, it is not fully known what the fight was about, but it is believed it could have been potentially two different things. One, Steve felt Jody was drinking too much and that she was falling back into her alcoholism. He admitted he drank a little bit, but he always did it in the comfort of their home where he felt he had more control, and Jody liked to go out and drink. Two, the tavern that Jody frequented had a manager that Jody had become quite close with, and because of that, Steve didn't really appreciate Jody going there. As I said,
jealous.
yeah, a little bit of jealousy. But as I said, at this point, all these years later, it is still unsure what the exact cause of the fight truly was, but the end result was Steve telling Jody to not come back to the house after she got off work. So the next day, March 1st, it starts off as any day would for Jody. She wakes up, heads to her part-time job as a receptionist for Eastern Savings Bank. She works her shift without issue, and then she is invited by some friends to go grab some drinks at the Mount Washington Tavern, the one Steve did not like her going to. Not one to stay out all night, Jody actually ended up staying till closing time, which was roughly 2 a.m. As she was getting ready to leave, the manager approached her and asked her if she could give one of the employees a ride home. Seeing as Jody was known as someone who had a heart of gold, no one was surprised that she gladly obliged. So with this employee buckled in, Jody drove them to the Roland Park area of Baltimore. She dropped them off and then drove to a nearby ATM for some money. Once she had the money, she drove to the curb shop bar to buy a six-pack of beer. With the beer in hand, Jody then went to her final stop, which was the parking lot of the Drum Castle Shopping Center, and her arrival time was just about 3 a.m.
I love that she could just go to the curb shop bar to buy a 6-pack of alcohol.
Some bars, they actually won't let you purchase alcohol once you, like, if you're getting ready to leave.
Yeah, like that's what I normally think of them doing because that's the norm now. But
Maybe they
I guess
called
back
it.
then you could just go and buy a 6-pack and leave from the bar.
Well, I almost wonder if the curb shop bar, they called it that because they served alcohol. Like how we have
Oh,
the
kind of like a
liquor
convenience
store.
store
Yeah,
or spirit store. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
could potentially be that. So,
Hmm.
while she was sitting in the parking lot, it was confirmed that she made roughly 2 phone calls. The first person she tried to speak with was the manager of the tavern. Supposedly, he was too busy and wasn't able to talk with her, so she made no contact with him. Jody then called one of her former roommate's boyfriends, but their conversation was unknown. All we know today is that it was roughly like 2 minutes long, but no hint or any kind of possibility of what the conversation was. And then shortly after this conversation ends, a white a white BMW pulls into the lot and parks in a nearby parking spot. An unidentified man gets out of the car, approaches Jody's car, speaks with her for a few minutes, and then gets back into his own car. At roughly 3:40 a.m., this mysterious man pulls out a .38 caliber handgun and shoots into the back passenger window of Jody's car. The bullet goes through the window, through the driver's seat headrest, and tears through Jody's back, effectively severing her spine. Somehow, Jody managed to drive out of the parking lot, make it across 5 lanes before her car came to a stop at a curb between Boston Market and Firestone Tire and Service Center.
So the bullet went through the car, through the seat, severed her spine, and she still was able to drive away?
Well, there is a theory that it's the police believe she actually might have been in the process of driving away, like driving out of the parking lot, and then he shot her. So since she was already going straight when she got shot, her foot was already on the gas, so it just kept going forward. And then was basically stopped when it hit the curb.
Okay.
I have
I
that
was gonna
written in
say,
my notes. We just haven't gotten there yet.
you should...
So Vince Raines, a delivery driver that was making his rounds, actually heard the shot. And he happened to be in a place where he was able to watch as the killer got out of the BMW, walked up to Jody's car, reached into the vehicle, put it in park, then takes something unknown out of the vehicle, proceeds to go back to his own car, and then specifically took off south down York Road and then east onto Walker Avenue and is never seen again. Vince described the male as being a black man in his late 20s/early 30s, having a stocky build, being between 5'10 and 6'1, weighing between 200 and 220 pounds, and wearing a green colored army and or camo style coat. Vince also stated that before the killer approached the vehicle, he kind of waited in the darkness for a little bit and then approached her vehicle like he was waiting for her to actually die.
Huh.
And when the police arrived on scene shortly before 4 a.m., they did confirm she was dead in the vehicle. So, there were some odd things, which,
From one shot to the back?
yes. I mean, if
Had
it
to be...
severed her spine.
Well, it depends on the spot. So if it was like lower spine, yeah, she'd lose her feeling to her legs and whatnot. If it's, oh, I'm so bad at this. C4, C3, those areas, that's like your arms and down. You get C2, I believe, and that cuts off your being capable to breathe. So then I guess you just suffocate. I was so bad at this part in nursing school.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, and for those who are just listening and not seeing, I am pointing out parts of my neck to Sam. If your headrest is usually right at your head. So if it goes through, I wonder if maybe if she was driving away and some people like to lean forward, if it went through the headrest and kind of hit her like right here in her back.
Yeah, but that would be too low for where you're pointing. That would cause her to die. It would be higher from where you're at.
I mean, if that was where it was and she died, I almost wonder if she wasn't still driving away, but her foot was just still on the gas. Like she was already dead, but because she was driving, her foot stayed where it was.
Could have, yeah.
And then she wasn't really going that fast, or even no one stated in all of this how fast she was going. So if her car wasn't in park, it could have literally
She'd just
just
been
rolled
rolling.
across. People thought she was driving across, but she was already dead and it was rolling across. And if he was
And
waiting for her to die, he was probably just waiting to be safe
probably.
in case somehow
It
she
also makes me
survived.
think like if it went through her spine and then like her heart. I don't know. My brain's thinking too much.
It's okay. So, from interviews from Jenny and other friends, there were some odd things that was noted about the lineup of the events. 1. While Jody was very kind and did her best to help those around her, giving someone a ride at night, especially one that had heavy snowfall, was not something Jody would do, and this was coming from Jenny. Jody had told Jenny before that she was scared of being alone, which was due to her anxiety, and this was something both Jenny and Jody suffered from all their lives. In fact, according to Jenny, Jody had admitted to being scared of living in Baltimore. She was terrified that one day she was going to be shot and killed because of the large amount of crime and violence in the area.
I mean, I've lived in a lot of places, and a lot of places the news will pop up, and every single time you look at it, someone's, been killed. It's just so sad. So I can understand the anxiety of it.
I mean, we don't know, but I'm going to assume she was only going there for school and then probably had plans to leave once she was done.
I
So
mean, not all of Baltimore's bad, but
yeah, but I could still
it's just like
see
anywhere else. You got pockets.
exactly. So the weather was also an odd factor. According to Jenny, Jody apparently hated driving in crappy weather, and
Same.
this was probably one of the worst nights. I mean, it was snowing, but it wasn't just snowing, it was heavy snowfall.
Hmm.
And then finally, the fact that she talked to an unknown man. If you have anxiety and you don't like being alone, talking to strangers is like a no-go because it'll just spike that anxiety. So if Jody really did roll down her window and openly talk to this man, that told Jenny that there was a good chance Jody may have actually known him. So, when looking into the investigation done by the police, Jenny was able to discover other things that just didn't seem right. For one, the issues with the cameras in the area. The giant store she was near supposedly didn't have any working cameras at the time. It was 1996, so that's possibly true.
Yeah.
She said there was a bank nearby also that had a camera facing the area of the parking lot, but according to the police, the video footage was too grainy and therefore they were unable to identify anything.
Which is also true for that time.
Hmm? It's
Yeah, if you
also,
weren't close to it, you're not saying anything.
yeah. And then there's also the fact that they weren't able to tell exactly how they knew Jody's path. Like
Huh?
how said the police never indicated how they knew that Jody went from the bar to dropping off the person to the ATM to the shopping center to the parking lot. I'm assuming receipts, but
That's what I would assume.
the police didn't tell Jenny how they knew.
Do you always have to?
During the actual investigation, no, but We would work with the family the best we could. These guys, not so much. So finally, there is the major one odd fact of this whole entire thing. Still to this day, the police will not let Jenny or anyone else in her family have the investigative notes and the case file.
Why?
They have told them time and time again that this case from 1996, let me remind you, is still technically active and therefore they cannot release anything.
What would cause that?
According to my research,
Your
that
face up. I don't know.
they have some kind of law that if a case is active, nothing should be released. So technically, if they never closed it or never turned it into a cold case and it is active but just like sitting in a filing cabinet, they don't have to give anything.
That's shitty.
But then it's like, why? Why don't you want to?
What's in there you don't want them to see?
That is the big question. There was also the issue that this incident technically occurred in two different jurisdictions. And it is a known fact that sometimes jurisdictions don't always get along. So she was believed to have been shot leaving the parking lot, which was in the city's jurisdiction. And then after she got done crossing those 5 lanes, that curb she stopped at was the county's jurisdiction. So she was shot in the city's jurisdiction and potentially died in the county's jurisdiction. And I think they were, according to the notes, it appeared that they were butting heads.
Of course they would be.
But whatever was the cause, Jenny knows nothing because they just won't give out any information. So, with all that being said, there were some facts that I learned during my research that I wanted to point out. Number 1, fingerprints were collected from the scene, but the police have not released any information on them, which tells me they probably know who it is.
Yeah, which cop is it?
The police stated they have received phone calls, never told anyone what the phone calls entailed, but they just made the statement that the calls didn't lead to anything.
Which is possible.
It's believed that this was potentially a drug deal gone wrong, but when the autopsy was completed, there was only a little bit of alcohol in her system, no drugs. And outside of her little stint in high school, she wasn't known to have any dealings with drugs, only alcohol. But I could see the situation, you show up, somebody else shows up, you
That's
talk.
what it looks like.
It looks like, and there is always the potential that maybe she was buying something off of him, maybe he was buying something off of her, something went wrong, he shot her, and then he went and if it was drugs, took the drugs back.
That sounds stupid.
It does. Or she bought drugs off of him, he realized the money, no, he bought drugs off of her, realized the drugs were fake, and then shot her to get his money back.
I mean, that happens quite often.
That does. And just because you deal drugs doesn't mean you use them.
True.
A lot of time dealers will not use their own stash, and sometimes they don't use them at all. They just want it for the money. So that could have potentially been it. Through all this, Jenny and the rest of the family actually entered into a legal battle with the Baltimore County Police Department because they wanted the records of the investigation. All I know is that they arrived at the settlement, but whatever the settlement was, it still ended with that the records were still kept by the police. It is still unknown exactly what was taken from Jody's car, but her purse and cell phone are missing, which is weird.
So we don't know what was took, but her purse and cell phone are missing?
Yes.
Wait, in 1997?
1996. They had like flip phones.
There's a flip phone in 97, 96?
The first handheld Motorola was created in 1973.
Okay. How much was it? The average person couldn't afford those.
It was probably the Nokia. The Nokia's first mobile phone was made in 1982. How much was a Nokia in 1996? So one model was around $1,000, but other models in the mid 1990s ranged from 400 to 800. So it is potential that she could have had one if she was selling drugs.
If she was selling drugs, sure.
It's possible. You also, her dad was a retired Marine and a retired prosecutor.
Oh, well, there's the money. Never
Yeah,
mind.
so I'm pretty sure her
You
parents
could have led
probably
with
just bought
that.
it. I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
You saved us a rabbit hole if you just led with that.
I forgot. So since all this happened and obviously she's not getting the records, Jenny has placed up 3 billboards around Baltimore with the hopes of getting tips or information on the killer. I believe one of them literally says like, "Have you seen my killer?" And they're still up. And they're
Sorry,
off.
if I saw those billboards, I'd probably be like, no, I haven't. Where is he? Because, my dark sense of humor. Sorry.
So one of them says, "Do you know who killed Jody LeCornu? $100,000 reward. Murdered March 2nd, 1996." And they added the location, and they have a tip line. And then there's also another one that says, "Find my killer, justice for Jody."
Mm.
And then there is another one that is saying that they need to release her records.
Is that her sister on the billboard?
That's her.
God, they're like identical twins.
They are identical twins.
You said they were just twins, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure I said identical twins. Maybe I didn't. In case I didn't, guys, these are identical twin girls. Just in case.
My husband's a twin, and they don't look anything alike, so I don't always assume people are identical.
They're fraternal twins.
Uh-huh.
I want to make sure you knew the difference.
I had to think about the word for a second. I was like, I know that word.
Twins that don't look alike.
I know.
There was a potential lead where Jenny learned of an inmate who had claimed to kill her sister. So she went to the inmate, she spoke with him a little bit, she took everything to the police, but they said it wasn't enough to do anything and that they thought it was a false lead, so they didn't do anything with it. And finally, outside of the witnesses, the names of the tavern goers, like the manager and the employee, I cannot find those names. So no clue who they are. Some of the witnesses, they didn't name everybody.
I mean, can't you put it where your name's not public information for those things?
I mean, you could, but I feel like there was somebody who knew them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
But
it is possible that they just didn't want their names known.
yeah, even if you're trying to do a good deed, some people don't want to have that public acknowledgement or their name always be attached to something.
I didn't think about that.
I mean,
I
crap,
will
I'm
admit
one
that.
of those people.
Okay,
I don't like my name being out anywhere.
True. I'm very restricted on what I can say about my co-host here.
Yep.
Okay. So, I do want to point out, this is a little bit sad, is that in 2007, John, Jenny and Jody's father, passed away from cancer
Oh,
without any answers of what happened to his daughter.
that's so hard for parents.
It is. Jenny and Linda are still alive, they are still fighting, and Jenny is still fighting for those records. And that is the unsolved murder of Jody LeCornu. And it is very rough seeing as someone witnessed this crime. Someone literally laid eyes on the man, and yet it is still unsolved. And the whole thing that makes me curious about this case, which is actually what kind of drew me to this case, is why the police force is holding on to the case still,
Yeah, there's
all
gotta
these years
be
later.
some type of information they don't want to get out.
The only thing I can think of is that they know who it is. And I almost wonder if some kind of plea deal happened. They needed information on something else.
Could have been, yeah, if it was drug related. And then they could use a bargaining chip to get someone higher up in the system or something like that. Or, it came back as police officer who was dirty. And back then you saved your own no matter what. I mean, they still sometimes do that now, but they're really cracking down on it. At least that's what the news says.
I mean, it also helps that nowadays we have body cam footage.
Yeah, it does.
And so it's really hard to be dirty when you have cameras constantly going.
But if he was off the clock.
True. I don't know.
Or it could have been somebody tied to higher up, like government official, a mayor, a high lawyer, a judge.
Well, someone said potentially, even though he had been retired for a while, is they wonder if it had to do with one of her father's cases.
Could have been retaliation for they felt was an unjust judgment by the dad and took it out on a daughter.
But then there's also the thing that if she is the kind of person who doesn't like talking to strangers and wouldn't just roll her window down at 3 in the morning, why did she do it?
Well, she was sitting in the parking lot calling people, wasn't she? And if he said his car wasn't working and maybe use her phone to call someone and you said that she was a good person, people take kindness on that for granted.
The only other thing that I almost considered is I wonder, because she said she called her ex-roommate's boyfriend. They had a conversation, and that was that. I wonder if he was potentially the boyfriend.
Oh. They would have put him in jail. That wouldn't be something they would hide.
But back to your thought, what if the boyfriend was a police officer? What if he did something? Maybe she was blackmailing him in some kind of way. He gave her something that she needed. She started driving away. He had regrets. He shot her, got into the car, took what he gave her, and then took off. And then it was when running the fingerprints, they realized it was one of their own. And they're trying to protect him, and so they just kept the case sealed.
There's way too many variables for this whole thing.
/active, so that they could. It just makes no sense. Why do you have a case, almost 20, 30 years later that's still active that you guys are not working on?
I bet you as soon as the obituaries go for whoever this person is, that case is going to be closed and then they're going to announce it.
Probably. So, do you have any solid theories of what you think has happened?
Absolutely not. My brain is in like 10 different directions of what could possibly be happening, and I don't like it.
Your brain is just fried.
It is. It's been a long day for me.
Sorry. I tried to record this morning with you. I even got up on time.
Yeah, it's totally my fault today.
Yeah, it was. Just so you guys know, we were supposed to record at 11:30 this morning. I got up at 11, and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to be home in time.
It's a very important day today. I had things I had to do. I had to drive pretty far to go get medication that they said that wouldn't be ready for like 3 to 4 hours. And then I got tired of waiting and came home. And by the time I got home, they're like, oh, your prescription's ready. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's just get it Monday.
Hey, speaking of that, I forgot to pick up my medication. It's been ready for 2 days.
We're great.
I'll go get it tomorrow. So, as always, we do have our socials currently up and running. We will provide updates of episode releases and any fun things we come across. We have Facebook and Instagram, and you can listen to these episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Everything is under Dead and Wrong Podcast. Please feel free to send in theories, case suggestions, things you know about or have participated in, and if you want, you can also send in pictures. Just remember that if you do send anything and you want us to post them or you want us to talk about them, we just need like explicitly in there that you consent to us doing it. If you are sending us anything, send it to deadandwrongpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, our ending cue still does not exist and probably never will. So see you next week for another amazing Dead and Wrong episode. And it's going to be our first two-parter.
Whoop whoop.
Sam's going to
Really,
love it. Not really. She's going to hate the next episode.
the ending, the cue that doesn't exist, that's probably really going to be the
Yeah.
ending cue.
Unless one of you guys come up with this like grand, amazing, like, oh my god, you should do this ending cue. It's probably going to be the ending cue that will never exist. That will be the cue.
Dun-dun-dun.
Well,
All
we
right.
will see you guys for episode 5. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.